What's up, everybody? Richard back today with another video, and today we're going to be going over my top 5 EPs of 2021. Starting today, this will be the first video in a series of 3 videos where I will go over my top EPs, my top singles of 2021, and then finally, on New Year's Eve, my top albums of 2021. Now, the thing is, man, albums were really a big focus this year. A lot of fantastic albums. I did over 30 album reactions, but there were still some phenomenal EPs to go through as well. In fact, 2 of these EPs are probably some of my favorite releases of this year in general. So with that, let's dive into my top 5 EPs, and I'm sure that some of this may surprise you, and some of it definitely will not if you've watched the channel or listened to me talk about music at all. But with that, let's dive into my top 5 EPs of 2021. First up at the number 5 spot, we have the band Druid and their EP, The Beauty in the Decay. Now, this is a band that I had come on to late. In fact, how I first got into these guys was I saw Sabian Lynch from Alpha Wolf on Facebook sharing this band, and I checked out their track GEM, and I was instantly drawn into what these guys' sound is. GEM really reminded me a lot of Amur, and I was hooked from there. And from there, I went in to listen to the rest of the EP. And while GEM is still my favorite track of theirs, these guys have all kinds of different sounds in their music. That kind of like that old Deftones kind of ambient kind of sound is in there. You have some Limp Bizkit new metal stuff, but then you also have just like this relentless, Australian metalcore style sound. And by the way, these guys are from Australia, so that makes a ton of sense. So if you guys are into bands like Amur or kind of like that new metalcore style, or just want something that's kind of weird and so somewhat fresh, and also adding in some 808s and some just some really interesting stuff, The Beauty in the Decay by Druid is going to be a record that you want to check out. Now, it is 8 tracks, so you could argue maybe it's somewhere in between the EP and the LPs, but I'm going to chalk it up to an EP. Usually 10 tracks where I consider it an album, but with that, either way, you guys have got to check out Druid. These guys have less than 1,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and this was definitely an EP that I was a huge fan of in 2021. At the number 4 spot, we have my guys in the band Left to Suffer. Now, this EP was great. I think that Left to Suffer are phenomenal. I think that Taylor is phenomenal. I think that the guitar work is phenomenal. And by the way, the drums also, you guessed it, phenomenal. Now, here's the thing with this EP. There were 2 tracks I really found myself coming back and listening to a lot. That was Anger and Depression. I think Depression is probably my favorite track, but I love Anger. We all know that was the first single that they released off of this EP, and then you have that breakdown, as I clutch this loaded gun, F your God and his only son. I mean, hey, listen, that's an unforgettable line right there. I thought that those 2 singles were fantastic. From there, I like the track Bargaining, which featured Lockie from Alpha Wolf. Other than that, though, like the other tracks were fine, right? I was into them, but they didn't quite hook me in the same way that those other tracks did. And with that, Left to Suffer, they've gone on from there to release a track called DNR, which featured Will Ramos and Ricky Hoover. And then they also released another track called Fixated featuring Kamiyata Plus. So I know that they were gearing up for another release. But either way, On Death, their EP from 2021 was fantastic. If you want just some heavy kind of new metal infused deathcore sounding stuff, you've got to check out Left to Suffer, On Death, but I'm sure that you already have. At the number 3 spot, we have the band Convictions and their EP I Won't Survive. Now, there are 3 tracks on this EP that I absolutely love. One of which is a track called Hurricane, which has actually been out for quite a while now, but was thrown onto this EP. But hey, it's on the EP, so it counts, right? Anyway, like, that song is so catchy. It's so heavy, too. It's just got silky smooth, clean vocals in it. I absolutely love that. And then you have The War That Followed Me Home, which is just relentlessly heavy. Has that, I think, like a shotgun sounding breakdown in there. I love that. It's closer to 4 minutes, which is kind of near my peak in terms of how long I like songs to be, but the song just throws down from beginning to end, and I absolutely love it. But I think for me, man, you know what song is going to make me just love this EP, and that is Teeth. 2 minutes. It is just the most relentless, loud-sounding song, at least one of them of this year. I mean, it is so loud and just crazy, and it's just, there's no structure to it. It's just go, go, go. And I don't know, man. When I first heard that, I was like, yep, that's it. That's a 10. And it's a big reason why this has landed as my number 3 EP on the year. At number 2, we have Knocked Loose, A Tear in the Fabric of Life. Now, this was awesome. I loved the animated music video that went along with this. I think that really helped me engage with the songs that much more. But for me, man, Contorted in the Fail, I believe that's how you pronounce it, is what gets me here. I think that this is just such a, like, this EP is just filled with so much gloom and just despair, but it's also just relentlessly aggressive. And, you know, Brian, I know that he gets a lot of flack for his vocals, but I think he is a phenomenal vocalist. I think that he just channels that anger and aggression so well. The breakdowns throughout this are just, I mean, relentless. Like, this is the type of stuff that is going to be hard to listen to while you drive, because you might get some parking, you might get some speeding tickets, and then, you know, the cop will be like, hey, why are you speeding so fast? But hey, listen to Knocked Loose, and they'll be like, what's that? You play the song for them, and then they go on to speed as well. Okay, I mean, that's the type of effect that this music has. So yeah, A Tear in the Fabric of Life, it was just phenomenal. I mean, like, and it landed at number 2 because we all know what number 1 is, and let's get over to that. Number 1, 1056, Downer Part 1. Now, this comes as no surprise to anybody who has watched me for more than 5 seconds, because 1056, quite frankly, has landed in that tier of bands with Immure for me, who I just managed to always find a way to bring them into discussion. I could be sitting there at the dinner table talking about our days, and I'd be like, oh, by the way, 1056. You know, I just always find a way to bring up this band because they have the sound that I absolutely love, front to back, beginning to end. There's nothing about this EP that I dislike. Now, the only thing is Sick Dog is probably my least returned to track, but I still love that. It's so different. It's such a nice change of pace from the EP from front to back. But I still think to this day my favorite song from them is Boy. With that though, Chemo is awesome. Diazepam, which was my first introduction to the band back on the True Shot channel when I reacted to it with Adam. I just, this music is literally is a sound that I just love. Like it's gonna be very difficult for somebody to match this. You know, we have Aaron on vocals, who is just an absolute monster. I'm looking forward to seeing you know, some different scream variety from him too. I know that we you know, he did his thing phenomenally, but I'm curious to see if some more 1056 music will conjure some different screams. Obviously he does the spoken word awesome, and yeah, man, I don't know what to say other than like this 1056 EP was my favorite release of music overall this year. It is just absolutely phenomenal, and I look forward to what they're going to be rolling out next. You know, this is a super group, and with good reason. I mean, you can hear it in the music. Everybody is insanely talented, and their guitar player, Luca, who I know is responsible for a lot of the music, is just a genius. I mean, I've talked to this guy personally. He is unbelievably talented, but I could go on and on and on about this band, but there you guys have it. Those are my top 5 EPs of 2021. To run through them once again, we have number 5, Druid, The Beauty in the Decay. Number 4, Left to Suffer on Death. Number 3, Convictions, I Won't Survive. Number 2, Knocked Loose, A Tear in the Fabric of Life. And at number 1, 1056, Downer Part 1. Thank you guys so much for watching, and tune in tomorrow for my top 10 singles, which, by the way, are going to be totally singles. Nothing attached to an album, just standalone singles. And I'm looking forward to talking about those, because there's a lot of songs on that list that I think you're going to be surprised by. But either way, I'll see you right here tomorrow, and you guys have a good one. If you want to follow me on social media, check out my Patreon or my Twitch. All those links are down below, and I will also provide a link to each of the bands that I mentioned in today's video, Spotify pages, so if you want to go over there, give them a follow, or listen to these EPs that I have discussed, you can do that. But until tomorrow, and until next time, peace.